What's up? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper video. Today we're going to continue our Brothers War Pauper set review. We're going to jump right in with the blue cards. As usual, I'm joined by Josh, aka Mayo on the internet. Let's dive right in. First up, we have Air Marshal, a 2/1 human soldier for a colorless and a blue. It says 3 mana, target soldier gains flying until end of turn. So we're still seeing the soldier synergy, so it's not just a white archetype. It looks white-blue in this set. I think if this had default flying, it would be pretty good. But just jump knighting for 3 generic does not seem good enough to me. Especially because, like, the first 3 soldiers we looked at in the last color had flying. Like, unless there's a bunch of uncommon soldiers that really benefit from flying, I don't see a ton of soldiers I want to jump from this. Do you?
Not particularly. Maybe there'll be 1 or 2 in blue, but, I mean, we are just looking at the commons, so you might find one that you want to jump that's in...
Sure.
White, blue, you know, it's uncommon or rare. But I mean, I wouldn't hate having like a Welkin turn here.
Yeah.
Just having him have
Exactly.
flying already.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what blue has in store for us soldier-wise. But yeah, looking at the commons, this is definitely not Pauper constructed playable. I don't think it's cube playable. It's too restrictive on soldiers, and that's just not really where white is. It's not a tribal cube, so keywords don't matter here, or at least key tribes don't matter here. And yeah, I think this is probably a little too weak without default flying. If it itself had flying and the ability to give other things flying, I'd be interested, but not a fan as is. Next up, we have Curate, which I believe is a reprint, right? It's just now it's keyworded for Surveil.
Yeah, which I am so happy about. I have to replace all of my foil curates because this actually has Surveil on it.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's an instant. It's 1 and a blue. It's Surveil 2, then draw a card. We're all familiar with this card. It's just a reprint here. Moving right along. Desynchronize is next up. It's 4 and a blue for an instant. All right, 5 mana instant. What do you got for us? Put target non-land permanent owner... Oh, had a stroke. Target non-land permanence owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Scry 2. Do you choose top or bottom?
No. So it sounds like you were still having a stroke there for a second trying to interpret this. No,
yeah,
the owner of that chooses top or bottom.
The permanence owner chooses top or bottom, right? You don't it's not like a mode that you declare when you cast the spell. This is garbage. Even with the Scry 2, I'm not into this. I don't want my opponents getting any choices. Why would I let them decide?
I mean, tell me what you really think about it. Jeez. No, I'm in the same mindset though. Like, I don't enjoy their whole bit with these most recent bounce spells that let them choose to put it on top or bottom. If I'm paying 5 for a Wool spell, it doesn't get rid of the thing. Like, what am I even doing with my life?
Yeah, if this was like a 2 mana boomerang and they got to choose where it went, or maybe 3 mana because you keep the Scry 2, right? If it's like, what was that card? Like the white one that was, put it on the...
Oh yeah, and then you gain 3 life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bounce something, sorcery speed, kicker 1 white.
Yeah.
Tolarian something.
Yeah. Not a fan of this at 5. 5 is way too much mana to be letting your opponent make choices as to whether or not it kills the creature or not. This should just read bottom. I understand that they templated it so that you could do the thing where you put it on top of your library to like rebuy it if you need to, but why would I ever want to spend my entire turn casting a spell that then lets my opponent decide if they still want access to it or not? Like, I want to be able to declare the mode of this spell. I don't think your opponent should be able to declare the mode of this spell. I want to be able to say, put that on the top or bottom of your library. Yeah, that's like, I want to be able to tell you if you put it on the top or the bottom. And then I want to tell you what you're putting where. Like, yeah, I'm not a fan. This is bad.
Yeah,
Unless it works differently than I think. If there's some weird ass Oracle text or rules text, or maybe the primer that comes out with the sets that declares each initial judge rulings on a card says that this is actually like a declare when you cast top or bottom, and then you declare the target, and then the opponent has to put it where you tell them, then I'm on board with this costing 5 mana. But short of that very specific instance, this card's terrible.
Yeah, it's not that way. The non-land permanent controller or owner chooses where it goes. It, I mean, you could
Why?
do this in response to a threaten, maybe.
No, and don't make arguments for it. It's bad.
Look, I'm just trying to say the only possible
It has Teferi in
ethical
the art. You
scenario.
should be shitting all over this card.
I hate it. I hate Teferi. I hate everything it stands for. But I mean, like, the the terrible card player in me wants to find scenarios where a card is possibly playable and maybe even not so bad.
Nope, it's bad.
This card is, yeah, it's shite.
All right, I'm not going to give this any more time because the next card is actually good and I'm excited about it. Philagi Archaeologist is a 0/3 human scout for 1 and a blue, and when it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. You may put a non-creature, non-land card from among the cards milled this way into your hand. If you don't, it gets a 1/1 counter. So this is the inverse of the Cleric from earlier, where you can't get a land and you can't get a creature. Or it gets a 1/1 counter if you don't. However, unlike the last one, this has a direct comparison in both Augur of Bolas and Seagate Oracle. And I think this is better than both of those cards. I like that you get to look at all 3 of your options. You immediately mill them, so there's graveyard synergy that is not inherent with either of the other 2. And then you can just not pick a card you don't want and make this a 1/4, which is very good at stalling board states in Pauper. 1/4 blocks a lot. It just doesn't block Gurmag Angler, Enforcer, or Tolarian Terror. But that's hardly the whole format, right? This blocks a lot at 1/4. It dodges Lightning Bolt at 1/4, which is also good. And on top of all of that, you have more options to hit on a non-land, non-creature card. Like, if you build your deck in such a way that this is going to be consistent, you'll oftentimes have a card that you can choose. And I think mathematically it works out to like 86% hit rate if this is the first spell you cast and you build your deck with a disproportionately large number of spells. I think the original basis of the math that they ran for this card was based on the current Tolarian Terror deck, which just runs the 4 Gurmags, the 4 Terrors, 18 land, and then spells with 2 Augur of Bolas. If you replace the Augur of Bolases with this card, you have like an 86% hit rate. This card's really good. I think this card's great, and I look forward to playing it instead of both Augur of Bolas and Seagate Oracle. I'm just straight up replacing all instances of those cards in my decks with this. Sorry, I had a lot to say there. Go ahead.
No. Sadly, I don't have anything to disagree with. I immediately compared this to Augur Bolas when I saw it, and it definitely is a huge upgrade. Sadly, it still cannot hit Planeswalkers. But
Fortunately, that's not relevant for us.
yeah. No, it hits Planeswalkers in those formats. It just doesn't do it for us.
Sure.
Yeah. solid card. Really happy that we're getting an upgrade from Augur of Bolus, because whenever that thing whiffed, it hurt.
Hurt. Yeah, I think that this is a straight upgrade for Augur of Bolus for Tolarian Terror, or at least the Turbo Terror deck. I think that this is likely going to see play instead of either Augur and Seagate Oracle in like the mono blue Delver type decks. The only the only deck in which I don't think this is going to replace Seagate Oracle is probably Familiars if you're running Seagate Oracle in your Familiar stack, because your key combo pieces are creatures and you need them from, not the graveyard. And maybe if you're running Seagate Oracle in like a Flickertron deck, you're going to want to keep those in instead of this, just because it can hit your like land pieces, or your Mull Drifters, or whatever specific, like your mnemonic walls. Like, it can just kind of hit your combo pieces, whereas this cannot. It's limited to just hitting your action spells. So it's not like 100% conversion rate, right? I can't take every card, I guess, out of all of my decks and just straight up replace it, but most of them are becoming archaeologists, and certainly every instance of Augur of Bolus is going to become an archaeologist.
Yeah. No, I don't compare this to Seagate. Seagate's just any of the two cards, and I don't think you show your opponent. So that's what's relevant for him.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, he costs 3 mana, and he still looks at one less card.
Yep.
So, I mean, Archaeologist is just better than Bolus. I want to say 90% of the time. The only exception would be if you're facing off against X-ones.
Right.
Non-trample X-ones. But yeah, outside of that, this card's so much better.
All right. Yeah, this is definitely the front runner in blue for me as far as the cards that we've seen so far. So we'll see if somebody tops it. We've got like 11 cards to go, so let's see what's next. Koilos Rock is next. It is a 3/3 bird for 4 and a blue with flash and flying. They like that combination in this set. And when it enters the battlefield, create a Power Stone. Oh, I just realized that was a skyship it's attacking in the art. This thing's huge. No wonder it's a rock. Okay. Because originally I looked at the art and I just thought it was a bird. I was like, why is this a rock? It's not giant. And then I realized that was a whole ass skyship in its talons. So, this thing's enormous. Disproportionately so for a 3/3, considering the skyship it's attacking, is what, a 4/5?
The Weatherlight completed is a 5/5 when it's got all the counters on it. So.
Yeah, but this isn't completed.
I'm just saying, like, it's close.
Sure. Yeah, the 3/3 seems disproportionately small. This should be much bigger than that. But ETB create a Power Stone seems not very synergistic, I'll be honest. I don't know where you're getting the Power Stone or why you get a Power Stone from a bird.
You're getting it from the ship,
I guess. But flash flying on a 3/3 is nothing to overlook. Flash flying on a 3/3 is quite big, even at 5 mana. You're going to sneak this into play in some limited games for sure at end of turn, but you're never going to cast this in Constructed Pauper, and it's never going to make it in the cube. 5 mana for a 3/3 is not good enough.
I don't know, man. I really want mono blue or blue green, just straight up instant speed deck.
Even in that deck, you're not running this. There are better.
Well,
if you're going to spend 5 mana on a flash spell, you might as well play 6 mana and just play a Capsize.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And like the Power Stone's not even good in that deck. I don't know. I'm not convinced this is playable in anything except limited, but we'll see.
I mean, it has more words than the 5 mana 3/3 flash flying from, what was it, Mirrodin Besieged?
Sure.
Like, we've seen this combination of effects before, and I mean, those aren't played.
Yep.
So it's not exactly a new card. The only extra flavor on this is Power Stone.
But that's not good enough.
Yeah. So it's a limited card for sure. But
yep. All right. What's next? Ooh, we have a good card. Latinum Adept, or Adept, is a 3/3 human wizard for 4, 3 and a blue. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. This is what I would consider a cube card. There are enough draw mechanics in cube with like Merfolk Looter and things like that that you could very consistently trigger this on your own turn. And there are enough instant speed draw, I think, that you might even be able to trigger this sometimes on your opponent's turn, which is super good. I think this card's pretty good. I don't think there's a shadow of a chance this gets played in Constructed. But in Cube, this has merit, and in Limited, this card's probably gross if you can trigger it, more than twice. This card's a powerhouse, so...
Yeah, this card is Common's Fairy Vandal.
Yep.
I don't see it being played though. 4 mana, solid and limited, maybe a cube card, but it needs to be cheaper.
Yeah, if this was a
Make it
3 mana 2/2, I would be like the eighth, not Aether Adept, like the Strixhaven card, the blue-green adept that grows for each card or each spell you cast or duplicate.
Ooh.
That card's good, and at 3 mana as a 2/2, it's good enough because it starts growing. So I think this is probably a little overcosted as a 3/3. I think you want it to be a 2/2 for 3. But it's really close, and I'd be interested.
Yeah, if this cost 3 mana for any power toughness, whatever, right? Like
It'd be
2/2,
better.
2/3, 3/2. I would like it because I could go turn 4 something like Inspiration on your turn.
Yeah. I mean, this could even be like a Lorestone Coddle, right? Where it's just a 1/1 for 3. I don't think it'd be great, but it'd be more playable than a 3/3 for 4.
Yeah. Plus, there actually is a surprising number of draw 2 cards.
Yep.
At instant speed that cost 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Deadly Dispute's the one that brought up earlier.
Yep. But Reckoner's Bargain, Unexpected Windfall, all of the red like draw 2 discard 1, Faithless Looting, Careful Study. There's a lot of draw 2s in the format.
Hilarion Wins.
Shut up. All right, moving on. I'm done talking about that card. Let's see. Machine Over Matter. It's a 2 mana instant for a colorless and a blue. It costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact creature, and it bounces an on-land permanent to its owner hand. Now we're talking. This is an interesting card, and it can cost 1. I'm into this. This card seems pretty good, to be honest. I don't think it's good enough in like Cube. But as far as like build around, this certainly screams artifact synergy. I could see this being played certainly in like Grixis Affinity and Pauper. And this is going to be hyper playable and limited. I can't imagine ever not having a Power Stone in this limited format. So this is going to be a 1 mana bounce spell a lot. And if you ever just time walk your opponent for 1 blue, you're going to feel like a genius.
It does say artifact creature. So Power Stone's not going to trigger it, but...
Oh, right. Yeah.
This card is definitely going to be playable.
Yeah, but even if you don't have an artifact creature, it's playable. It's still a 2 mana bounce spell. Like, that's just on rate. It's only upside.
Well, I mean, Gust of Wind isn't played and it draws you a card. Sure, you need to have a flyer, but there are cards that have this effect at 2 that are not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of the playable ones in Cube are attached to a creature, but I just in limited, it's probably good. It is like a synergy, just kind of optional plus side card from like I don't know any deck that runs Vault Scourge is probably pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. Like this card exists, and it has a viable subset of cards that it can definitely get that reduction off of. I don't know if the ones if those cards that this gets the reduction off of benefit more from this or something like the Gust of Wind. You
Sure.
know, like I
Mhm.
don't. Drawing card is huge.
Oh, definitely.
Costing 2 versus 1 is also really huge. So
I don't know if 2 versus 1 is as big as go up a card or replace itself, but yeah,
mhm,
it's meaningful enough that you have to think about it.
mhm. But this card is definitely a contender. Um,
Yeah, I don't
this
I don't think it's nearly as good as the card from earlier that we were talking about. The front runner for blue.
yeah, Philology Archaeologist.
Oh yeah, archaeologist. Definitely better than this, but good card nonetheless. What's up next? Oh, Mightstone's animation. 4 mana, 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura. It enchants an artifact. It enters the battlefield, draw a card. We like that, and it creates it animates the enchanted artifact with a power and toughness of 4/4. Um, hmm. Are you ever running this over Kenku Artificer?
Not over, but I have a wonderful magical Christmas land. That
Okay,
fits in curve with this.
hit me with your magical Christmas land.
All right, so this first part's going to be a hard sell, but there's a two
Okay.
drop vehicle with vigilance.
Okay.
Um, Play that. Then you
Sure.
go into Kenku Artificer. You make that vehicle a 3/3 flying vigilance.
Oh, and then you enchant it with this and it becomes a 7/7. You know, I actually don't hate a world in which you play this with Kenku and you just animate the indestructible lands.
Just make it a 7/7 draw
7/7
card.
flying draw a card indestructible land. Like, I wonder if there's like a blue green or maybe like a blue green red ramp cascade deck that just attacks with lands and the big cascade threats. And it just animates and like cleansing
Uh,
wildfires to ramp,
uh. But
and
it,
it just runs all the artifact lands. I kind of
I tell
like
you,
that idea. And then you could run Cloud Zendikon.
I tell you, it makes me full in the way that food never does.
You know, I don't hate your Magical Christmas Land, I'll be honest. I wasn't sold on this card at all, and now I'm kind of thinking about it. I didn't think there was a shadow of a doubt this card makes constructed, but now I'm looking at it with Kenku, and I'm like, that makes a 7/7.
Yeah, I was looking at it with Kenku previously, or not this, but like vehicles with Kenku,
Mm-hmm.
and the only other two drop one that's worth playing, has flying on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's boring. Double flying.
Yeah, but doing it on the land and making a 7/7 indestructible flyer is pretty good.
Do it. You know the New Capenna Express, one where you can sack a treasure to make it um a creature.
Yeah.
I I was looking at that, but sadly it does only adopt the power toughness
Yes.
from the counters. It's just set to a 3/3,
Mm-hmm.
even if you tried to crew it.
Yep.
That's enough for my sad story of the day.
All right. Not very sad. All right. Let's see. Ooh, a weird effect. That's strange to see here. What are you doing here? It's a weird effect too. All right. Retrieval Agent is a 2/5 human soldier for 4 mana, 3 and a blue. It says 2 mana. Retrieval Agent gets +1/-1 until end of turn. This is a weird card.
Is that on purpose, what you're saying?
Yes, and also no. This
Okay.
this is a weird card in the fact that it's got the weird ability. But it's actually just curious as to why this card exists in mono blue as a 2/5 human soldier.
The creature types are admittedly confusing on this.
Like, the creature type seems out of place. The colorless weird seems doubly out of place. And the fact that this is a 2/5. Have we seen a weird that was more than 1 power ever?
Yeah, I think there were two.
They're not very
There was,
many.
there was one you could kick, to shock something,
Yeah.
and there was another one that died.
I meant the ones that actually have the weird ability.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
they're always
They're
like this.
always like 1/5s or 1/4s, right?
Yeah, I've seen them. Are there other ones that are like -1,
Yeah.
+1 instead of +1, -1?
No, I think it's always big butts and then it's +1, -1.
Okay.
Um, yeah, this is just strange. This is a weird card. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's even close to good, but it's weird.
Enough said.
It is a big butted soldier, so I guess like in your white blue soldier deck, you could play the 5-drop 3/4 flyer and give it a 1/1
Yeah,
counter.
this is the one you want to give flying.
Yeah.
Pay 3, give it flying. Pay 2, make it a 3/4 flyer.
That still seems like a lot. That's 5 mana to hit him for 3?
I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game.
I do.
All right.
Alright. Next up, Scatter Ray. This is a card I actually think is quite good. 2 mana instant, colorless and a blue. For counter target artifact or creature spell unless its controller pays 4. This is,
Yeah, it's convolute target artifact or creature spell.
yeah. Yeah. I think this card's pretty good. And honestly, I love the artwork. It looks so good.
I think it's gonna be really cool in foil.
I agree with those really strong blues and reds.
I don't hate this
I
card
think this
at all.
card is good in the limited meta, but I don't think it's good enough in the constructed meta. I think that we have better options. We have more generalized main deckable cards, and we have better hyper-focused sideboard tech. So where does this card go?
I would. I would play this in constructed over Manly targets.
I think you will lose to Scatter Rain not countering their removal more than you will lose to them being able to pay 3 mana for Mana Leak. I think if you need a non-double blue counterspell, like if you just cannot afford to play counterspell, which is realistically what this card is fighting for, like let's not beat around the bush. Counterspell is played in anything in blue and Pauper. If you're not going to play counterspell and you desperately need a 1 blue pip counterspell, you're going to run Mana Leak. And any deck that plays this card is going to wish it was Mana Leak when they lose to the fact that they can't counter whatever they need to counter. Like the 1 generic mana penalty additional for the hyper focus of this card is not worth the lack of versatility. It just isn't in this metagame. Next up is Stern Lesson. It's an instant for 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card, create a tapped Power Stone. This should have costed 2, and I would be in. But it costs 3, so I'm out.
I don't know, man. Ramping on 2 and then also going up a card.
Yeah.
That's what do you think we're playing? Red? Nah. This is fine. It's a good way of a discard outlet. At 3, it's not going to be played outside of possibly cube if there's one.
This doesn't make
Power
cube.
Stones.
No shot.
Not yours.
Oh, just if a card, like an artifact synergy cube, sure.
Yeah, but this, I mean, it's not really that great. I'm not looking forward to playing this.
Yeah,
I
I don't.
Instant.
Not a fan.
I'm much rather looking forward to the next card to play.
Speaking of, the next card is Third Path Savant, a 2/3 human wizard for 2 and a blue, 7 mana, draw 2 cards. Holy mana sink, Batman. That being said, 7 mana is a lot, but I like that this, as opposed to like the Invokers and some of the other big mana sinks that we've had in the past, this does not have a colored mana obligation. This is true colorless activation. Um, my problem with this is we've had a very, very similar card. It was like a 3/3 for 3, and it had an 8 mana activation to draw 2 cards, I think. Um, and the difference between 7 and 8, unlike the difference between 3 and 4 or 2 and 3, the difference between 7 and 8 is almost nothing. Like if you've gotten to 7, you have 8. um I don't know, man. I'm not sold on this card. I think that this card will be a banger in limited. If you can pay the 7 mana, and if you have enough Power Stone activations to get to 7, this card is going to be an absolute powerhouse. But in constructed, I don't think anything wants this. Anything like the only thing that wants this is going infinite, and if you're going infinite, there are a lot better mana sinks. Um, yeah, nobody's just paying 7 for this ability. And if they go infinite, they're gonna win. They're not just gonna draw cards. So I don't know. This seems good in limited, but I don't think that's the infinite mana sink that people want it to be. Because I've seen a lot of people raving about this card, but I don't see it.
I think that this card isn't going to win on the spot, right? It's gonna find what lets you win when you're infinite. But the problem that I'm facing is why would you find this so that you could find your other thing?
Exactly. If you have a chance to find something when you are already infinite, it's gonna be your win condition, not the thing that then finds your win condition. Like,
Yeah,
just cut the middleman, man.
right? I mean, maybe Walls or not Walls, because
Familiars?
Walls has transmute guy to find.
Like,
But yeah,
Tron's not
familiars.
interested in this.
Yeah,
Familiars isn't interested in this either, because once they go infinite, they have graveyard. Like, they've already got the game locked on infinite.
yeah. Like they just
Um,
always have counterspell, always have infinite mana. Like you just
no, they only have infinite
effectively
mana
don't
at
have to
sorcery speed, but they
Oh yeah, to play the land.
no, to play the archaeologist, the archaeomancer. Sorry, they have to be able to replay the archaeomancer after the snap for infinite mana, but that requires
All
sorcery
right.
speed. But they will always have at least one counter spell, and they will always have infinite life and infinite flickers.
That's what it was. Because I
Um,
thought you could just flicker the Archaeomancer and the counterspells and have the infinite mana that way.
no,
But
you
you're
can't.
right.
You
Snap
can't
doesn't
ever
untap.
get infinite mana that way. Because you don't net blue mana, which is what you would need to go infinite.
Mhm.
If there was a Karoo that tapped for blue blue instead of blue white or blue colorless, there would be an infinite there, but there isn't.
Uh, yeah, there really is just kind of the depletions that tap for double blue.
Yeah. The original Karoo, the Visions bounce land for blue, just taps for blue colorless, not double blue.
Yeah.
Um,
But with that artifact that'll be coming up way later, maybe.
sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on this card. I've heard a lot of people talking big things about this card and expecting it to do a lot, but I don't know. I'm not in the same boat. I think this card is probably fine. It's going to be good in limited. Play it, but I don't think it goes anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I expect if you're trying to go infinite and you need to find a final piece, um, like say you've got your combo and you got infinite mana, now you just need to dig. This is the card that you maybe think that you'd want to have.
But in reality, it should just be anything that lets you dig for what you're getting, not what you.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially because like, right. So this is something you can transmute for Drift of Phantasms, right? It's a 3 mana card.
Mhm.
But so is your win condition, which is Secret
Yeah,
Door on 3 mana, right? So
that's one.
oh
But
no, it's the what's
invokers.
your tutor path? Oh, it's
There's two
Invoker.
invokers.
Okay. Yeah, so like I don't know. If you've got infinite mana, you don't need this card, and there are 3 mana win conditions. So anything that lets you find this card lets you find the win con. So yeah, this seems like a middleman you just don't need. But in limited, this card's going to be great. It's going to be like Azure Mage good.
Yeah, I would say this card is cute in walls, only because if you have like, I want to
Yeah,
say
you just do it the slow way when
two
you're not infinite.
two overgrown battlements.
Hmm.
Yeah, draw 2 cards, try and find a piece that will let you find
Hmm.
your win con, but it's
I don't think you can afford to run that in walls, though. I mean,
you
you
really
you
can't.
yeah, you play
You
walls.
need
It's too tight.
64. You need 61, 62 cards.
Yeah.
Not enough.
All right. Next up is Urza's Rebuff at 3 mana, a colorless blue instant. Choose one counter target spell or tap up to 2 creatures. Uh,
At 1 double blue, I want that to be a frost effect.
yeah, me too. Although I do think that as far as modal spells go, right now we have you find the villain's lair,
Hmm.
which is counter or like what was it? Draw 2, discard
Yeah,
1.
loot too.
Loot 2, draw 2, discard 2. Is that better than this? Probably.
No, I don't. I don't think it's better. I think it's a side grade. There's the 2 cards
Yeah,
want to be
it's just
different
kind of
things.
what you want right at that
Yeah,
moment. Sometimes the loot 2 is going to be better, sometimes the tap 2 is
but if
going
you're
to be better.
playing more of a control-y style deck that has going more in on the board wipes, which admittedly Pauper's lighter on.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna want this versus
I don't know,
Rebuff.
even in the like the combo-y or in the combo style, yeah, you want the loot 2, but even in the control-y style, it just card selection is really important, being able to filter out those extra land spells. So I think you cash that in for 2 cards when it's not counter relevant even in those kind of decks. And you'd rather have card selection than just tap 2 creatures. If this was freeze 2 creatures,
Mm.
I definitely see the value in that. But like as this goes, it's not even like it's not even bad cryptic command. It's pick one. Like, and I don't think tap 2 creatures for 1 turn is worth 3 mana and a card in the control matchup.
It's not.
So yeah, I
Thinking
don't see
about it though,
this.
you may be right on that. Wanting to draw 2 discard 2 because the only board I was thinking of that you'd really think about playing that style is the was it Scorching Sands or whatever that
Swirling Sandstorm,
yeah,
and that has
and that needs
threshold.
threshold. Yeah, so I mean, get 3 closer to that effect.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
yeah. I don't see it, man. I don't think
Yeah,
this is good.
yeah, need to be a frost effect. Honestly,
Agreed.
if it was frost one, draw a card, just
Yeah,
ice.
if this
Any
was
counter
like
target spell or
counter
ice.
target spell or ice, like
Mhm.
yeah, if this was fire and ice, but really it was just like,
Counter spell ice.
nope or ice,
Yeah.
um, I think this card would be great.
Hmm.
But it's not. So,
Right.
all right, what's next? We have Weakstone subjugation. Sorry. Weakstone Subjugation, a 1 blue enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3. If you do, tap enchanted permanent, and enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its control step. I've actually talked on Twitter a fair amount about this card already. People look at it like a Bind the Monster or,
No, no, no. They're missing it.
Okay.
You get enchant lands with it.
Yes, I understand. Um, and that's something we talked about, but I made an argument because I think that in most cases where you want to enchant the land, Spreading Seas is better because it takes away the artifact status. Because of how good Deadly Dispute is, Makeshift Munitions is, Reckoner's Bargain is, leaving the artifact on the board, even if it doesn't untap, is a detriment most of the time because it just gives them a clear sacrifice target. If you are going to try to deal with Affinity's lands as a hate avenue, like as an avenue to take down that deck, if that's your sideboard plan, you cannot leave the lands on the board. Doesn't matter if you tap them, but you cannot leave them there. You have to either exile them, bounce them, or outright turn them into islands or some
At
sort of
1 mana,
non-artifact
it
land.
would be Seize Claim, or
Yeah,
there's 1 black that turns into a swamp.
yeah, bubbling muck or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
something.
Yeah, I don't think that this is the hate card against affinity that people think it is. They're like, oh, it can target the bridges. I'm like, yeah, but then they just sacrifice it to one of their many sacrifice outlets and say thank you for giving me a clear target, right? Um, I don't think this is the bind them. I think this might be or not. What is it? Bubble snare? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Not. I don't think this is a bind the
Yeah.
monster side grade, but I think this might be a replacement to bubble snare in the cube. Because it's a single blue and it doesn't count blue in the kicker. It also
Yeah.
very specifically targets artifacts or creatures, which is an upgrade to Bubble Snare. But more specifically, you don't have to pay the kicker when you cast the spell. So if they sacrifice or remove the target, you do not have to pay the extra 3 mana. The 3 mana payment trigger to tap the permanent is when it enters the battlefield. So you actually save mana on Bubble Snare because you can kick it when after it resolves, which is kind of cool. So I think this might replace Bubble Snare in the cube, but I don't think it's a Bind the Monster. I don't think it's an artifact sideboard card that's better than anything we already have. Yeah, those are my thoughts here.
That's fair. No, it is better than Bind the Monsters. I did not see that you had to pay for it, or you got to pay for it after it entered.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, you get to make sure it actually like hits the creature, and they're not just going to sack it in response. Then you decide if you want to tap it, which is kind of cool. So a little
Like
bit less of a
everything
feels
that I
bad.
want Kicker to be.
Yeah, a little bit less of a feels bad if they remove the target. So yeah, not bad, not bad at all. But I don't think it's the affinity hate board card that everybody is claiming it to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last card for blue is Wing Commando, which might be one of the better cards in blue. I think blue has 3 standout cards, right? The Archaeologist,
Mm-hmm.
the card we were literally just looking at, and Wing Commando. I think this is the other one. And this is just God, what was that card out of War of the Spark? There was another card just like this. That was a 3 mana 2/2 prowess flyer.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah, me too. It was an Aven.
Yeah.
But so that card has yet to see any play, which doesn't give me a whole lot of hope for this card because this is just a functional reprint, although it is a human, which has some relevance but not a ton in Pauper. Yeah, this is a 2/2 flying prowess human soldier for 3 mana, 2 and a blue, Wing Commando. I'm not sold on this card being good because we have a card exactly like this that isn't played at all. I think that in Sealed and Draft, where you can build around it, this card's probably very good. But I just don't see this card being played in Constructed Pauper at all. It might get played in Cube. I think this card is a contender for a Cube slot. A flying prowess pressure source from blue, where blue-red is a Spells Matter archetype, is like a real choice. And I believe we already have the other one in the Cube, so it's just a matter of whether or not we want 2. And we might. I haven't done the numbers yet, but that's kind of where I am on this card. I don't think it's good for Constructed. I think it's a maybe in the Cube, and I think it's definitely in Limited.
I think that since you're trying to not be a tribal deck or tribal cube, that the Aven stays in just for any accidental synergies, But if you're trying to make Bonds of Faith, which I don't think's in anymore, a good card, then you'd put this in over the Aven.
Sure, I don't think that... I think that the Aven will probably stay if we only want 1. The question isn't whether or not this goes in for the Aven, it's whether or not we want 2. And I think the answer is maybe. I mean, if red-blue really is struggling for payoffs, like if Bloodwater Entity isn't enough and it really needs some more prowess threats, then having a second copy of the Aven is not bad.
Yeah, I agree. I can't help but feel there's other 3 mana threats that exist Maybe not exactly in blue, but like we Draconauts.
Yeah. We Draconauts isn't a 3-drop, though.
It is.
I thought We Draconauts was...
Colorless red blue.
What am I thinking of? I thought there's a 4-drop flyer. But I thought We Dragonauts was the 4-drop.
I
don't remember.
I don't know.
I know that like is it Cyclops is also a 3-drop, but
oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on this card. I think it's fine, but Pauper literally already has one and doesn't even look at it. So I think Bloodwater Entity is a clear better card.
I agree. Yeah. Plus, I mean, it looks better in foil, so.
And you get to play red for Bloodwater Entity, which honestly is an upside.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather play a whole extra color just to have access to Bloodwater than play this and stay blue. All right.
If you already have a second color, then maybe.
All right. That wraps up blue for the Brothers War. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope that you enjoyed the commentary, and let us know what your favorite blue card is down below. If you think we misevaluated anything, or there's some synergies that we didn't account for, maybe there is some busted soldier in a higher rarity that we didn't see, that's absolutely insane when you jump it, let us know down in the comments. As usual, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video if you can. It really does help the channel grow, and since we are a new channel, every sub counts. As usual, guys, thank you so much. Josh, thanks for hanging out. Goodbye forever, unless I see you next time. Peace.